going on, my eaters? It's your boy Chef Drew, aka Chef, aka Big Drew, aka y'all. We are talking cakes today. Y'all, I'm so excited to talk to y'all and show y'all what we're gonna be doing today. But before we can get into that, please make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things so we can keep bringing you this great content. Let's go. Y'all, so we did the Brunswick stew, we did the chocolating. Now we get to talk to you, Bonnie, a little bit. So like y'all heard me say multiple times already, this is Bonnie, Beautifully Baked by Bonne, cake baker, decorator extraordinaire. I met you in a coffee shop. Super great experience. I feel like, Bonnie, you were really genuine, really, it was a real organic kind of conversation. And I wanted you on the show then, and now you're here. So let's just talk. So Bonnie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Not necessarily about your business, but just about you. What you like to do, where you're from, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Well, going back to the Brunswick stew, in case you can't tell, I'm a lady of the South. I am a Georgia peach through and through. I know my Brunswick stew.
Yep.
So major props on that. But yeah, actually born and raised right here in this town.
Okay.
And I moved around a whole lot and then wound up back here to raise a family.
Okay.
So, and a part of my history, which is important. You've met my kids. You haven't met my husband.
Uh-huh.
I was engaged to a fellow at the Naval Academy who now trains pilots at Top Gun. So really? I was very serious with him. We were in talks of being engaged, this whole 9 yards. Then one night I ordered a pizza after a Halloween thing I did with kids. I had like makeup sliding off my face. I had like washed it off real fast, like black and a rim of white. And I go and open the door, and this guy's standing there. He's got long hair. He reeks of cigarette smoke. He's like, "What's a girl like you doing home on a Saturday night?" And I was like, what a line. And also, like, I'm kind of attracted to you. And long story short, I broke up with the guy at the Naval Academy to date the pizza boy. And we married. And the rest is history. 3 kids, moved back here. But he's a great support for me. And he is the other half of the brain that I don't quite develop.
I got one of those
by
too.
Choice. I don't develop the other side because I feel like I got plenty enough going on up here with what I've got going on. So yeah, born and raised here in the South, and I fell into this by accident.
Okay.
And I think the other side of my personality disorders, if we want to call it that, is I have to balance this out. I think I should have been a teacher, except for I'm not patient enough for it, but I am a natural teacher. So my other job is at the gym. I teach yoga and kickboxing, so I can eat all the sugar and try to keep it together.
Right.
Then I wound up having allergies in my 40s. I can't eat anything. Cut that part out. I don't want people to know I can't eat my own cake, but I can't eat my own cake.
But listen, right now I'm doing this like real like health cleanse and stuff. I just lost 75 pounds.
Good for you.
And I'm counting. And this doctor is like, you can't eat nothing. As for like the next 9 months, like no black pepper, no garlic,
what are you
no
gonna
gluten,
do?
no dairy. Cheat.
That sucks.
Listen,
you're not
y'all,
living if you can't eat.
Listen, I'm not an absolutes type of individual. Like you can't just say you can never have something.
No.
1, 2. Doc, this is what I do for a living. This is how I feed the babies. This is how
Yeah.
This is what I do. So
moderation.
I have virtually cut everything way back. But no black pepper, no garlic.
No, you gotta live.
I mean, come on now, y'all. But no dairy. Listen, y'all, I'm gonna eat ice cream. So sorry. Like, I'm moderation, that's all good, but I'm gonna eat ice cream. Anyway, we digress. So Bonnie, you said you started 17 years ago. You've been doing this?
Yeah, about then, if I did the math right, which is questionable.
Okay, so you work for yourself. How did you get into? Did you know you were gonna start doing this for a living, or did you kind of stumble upon it? What that look like?
I can tell you my whole life, I knew I'd be an artist in some capacity. It was never, my dad was an artist. He was a cartoonist, and he was fine, you know? So it was never like, you can't make money. Well, you can't make a whole bunch, but I think that's actually a myth. I think that you can do really well.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's true. You just have to be willing to put the work into it. I mean, I'll let you in on a secret. One of my most expensive cakes was over $10,000.
Really?
Yeah. So you work hard enough. Sugar,
flour, some other wet stuff, and time, y'all. But this lady just said she sold a cake. For how much?
$10,000.
What have you sold for $10,000?
Well, props to the people who are willing to pay for it and appreciate it, because my gosh. But there are people out there who appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that guy that would buy the bigger cakes from me, the coolest thing about him, aside from just his being, was that he let me have complete creative license. I could do whatever I wanted. And that gave me so much growth from the beginning of this. But I swear, if you work on something every single day, there's no way that you're not going to be good at it.
Right.
In some capacity.
So for the cake, for the young boy or girl or whoever, or the person who's sitting at home and maybe has been thinking about it, but they're scared to jump, who loves baking, who aspires to do their own thing entrepreneurially, when you started baking cakes, was it like a situation where you knew, okay, I'm going to start selling cakes? Or was it like somebody was like, hey, yo, Bonnie?
I'll tell you what it was. I baked a cake. The reason I got into this is when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I couldn't be around oil paints. They're toxic. So I was like, oh my gosh, I need a creative outlet. I can't live without a creative outlet. My mother-in-law gave me a decorating set, a piping bags and tips. And I made like a sunflower cake. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything. And it's more gratifying than painting because I get to eat it.
Right.
And then my niece wanted a Nemo cake. And I was like, well, I'm going to see if I can sculpt it. And so I did. And that was the first sculpted cake I ever made. But I would make them for people, put them on Facebook. And then all of a sudden I was like, this is a dangerous game because now I'm making too much money to not turn it into a business. So that was... But then my own personal holdback was, you're an artist, you're not a business person, you're not business minded, you're not this, not that. And it took me a long time to get out of my head and say, yeah, the hell you are.
Right.
I mean, my mom was a business owner by herself. She taught forever, and then she moved on to something else, and she ran the business, and I helped her do it. And I forgot to give myself credit for being her office manager.
Right.
I do know how to do all these things. I just don't see myself that way.
Right.
So this was all actually a pretty big accident that turned into something really fantastic and something I'm grateful for.
Yeah, you know, when I started Pinks, I started Pinks in 2014, and then life took over and I put it down. And then we rebranded and relaunched it right before the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit, and it's like people can't go out no more. And just kind of like on accident, I decided we wanted to relaunch, but I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. And something one day, I was literally at the store, something one day was like, yo, buy some ribs. And I bought some ribs. And I just went home and put on my personal Facebook page, like, yo, selling slabs of ribs, $20 a piece, let me know who wants. And they all sold out real quick. And I started doing that enough time, and it started stringing together so much that I was like, oh, well, this is more than part-time stuff going on right now.
Right.
Like, this is looking like I'd be foolish if I didn't entertain doing this for real, or in my case at the time, full-time, because I was working for somebody else. So I can definitely relate to that.
Let me ask you something, since I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah.
For you, was fear a factor? Like, did that drive you?
Then and today.
Yeah.
Then and today.
Yeah, me too.
I'm an individual, though. You have some people, I was just talking to someone about this. You have some people who fear paralyzes them and fear motivates me. So, yes, it scared me then. To a lot of your same point, I've learned through this process that I'm great at managing and delegating and all of that stuff. I'm horrible at creating systems and things like that, which is very necessary when you own your own business.
Yeah, I've struggled with that too.
And so I battled with a lot of fear because I knew I can do the creative part. I knew I'm a visionary. I knew I always got an idea. But the implementing and executing always makes me nervous then and now. However, it's like at this point we got too much, just too much invested, too much time, too much money, too many years that I have to let it push me. I can't shrink up behind it. But yeah, fear is a big battle. Absolutely.
Yeah, fear is a push for me too. I think one of the coolest things that ever came out of this for me, a lot of cool things have happened, but I don't know if you even know this. One day I got a message in my inbox on Instagram and it said, I'm so-and-so, I work for some production company. We're interested in interviewing you for a Food Network TV show. And that was so shocking to me. And I remember thinking, it's probably just trash. It's probably spam. It's not legit. Right. I called my husband and I was like, if this is real, then that is really, really cool. And I looked her up and she was on IMBD or whatever it's called, was a legit person.
Really?
But I was terrified. And let me tell you, my first experience with Food Network was a shit show. Can I say that? It was.
Did you say your first experience with Food Network? Did y'all catch that?
I've done 3 now.
Oh, okay. I ain't done none, y'all. So I'm just saying, I didn't know this, but this just took a good turn.
I didn't think that you did.
I didn't know this, JoJo, but this just took a good turn, Joe. Well, go ahead. Tell us, continue telling us about your first experience.
Okay, well, my first experience, I was only going to be gone a week. I knew nothing about how any of this worked. They flew me out to Denver. I could take one person with me. Well, I work all by myself. I'm solo. So I was like, oh my gosh, who am I going to ask? Well, I asked my sister for a few reasons. One, she's creative. She's an artist. She's artistic. I feel like she's helped me when I've had horrible cake problems. She's come over here in the middle of the night and helped me. But also she battles an illness that not too many people understand or know about. And she's lost a lot of her life to it. And I thought, maybe she's well enough right now she can come with me. Right. So I'll just condense that. So we flew out there and got everything ready. You have one prep day and then you film. And we went into prep and I looked over at my sister and I was like, oh my gosh, she's not well. So long story short, ambulance came, took her away. I was with her for a little bit, came back, didn't prep. Fast forward to the next day where we film. We weren't allowed on set. They finally were like, all right, go. Well, I was the first one out and I was like, where am I going? And then they showed me to the table and they're like, all right, pull out your stuff from yesterday. I was like, I don't have anything. Like, I got nothing. So anyway, I had to call in and interview different cake people in the area. Like, what are you good at? What can you help me? Can you come do the show with me? I've never even been in front of a camera before. Met this lady, Linda. She came in as my assistant and we had to build the leg lamp from A Christmas Story. And I was like, oh, great. The only cake fail I've ever had in all of my years was this freaking cake. And now it's the challenge. So Linda and I start working and I've got this beautiful leg that's life-size and gorgeous. And I'm looking around the room and everybody else's legs are like this big or, you know, they're doing something different. I'm like, oh, I got this in the bag. I am awesome.
Right.
Well, I made it out of Rice Krispies. Well, they wouldn't let us make them homemade. So they were like legit Rice Krispie treats. And over time, I saw my leg turning into a cankle with like cellulite.
Not the cankle cake.
Then they made me put it up on a pedestal and do a beauty shot while I stood next to it, acting like I was proud. But it was crazy because I'd never done anything like that. And there was this camera guy in your face. He was miserable. He was like, I hate my job the whole time. And then a producer going, don't look at the camera. Don't look at the camera. Talk to me. What are you doing? Don't look at the camera. And he's like, I hate my life. I mean, it was terrible.
Wow.
So I left that experience. Obviously, I got eliminated that round. It was horrible. And went home, and I had to promote it. Like, everybody tune in. They revamped the whole Food Network challenge, and I'm on the first episode. But you know what? I made incredible friends.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know who the Cake King is. He's like a multi-million-dollar business now.
Really?
Like, his name is Jeremy. He's incredible. He started his own business from scratch, and now he's like
dope.
But the experience of that. So then the second time when I got another call, it was for Halloween Wars.
Okay.
And that was a show that I actually loved.
Right.
Best experience of my life still.
Really?
It's really the friendships. It's the camaraderie. And then I went back for Holiday Wars, and it was cool because the same camera guys were still there. Like, I knew all of the people.
You was getting in there.
And I was meeting people who were like me, because you don't find other cake artists that, do this sort of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, but the point is that first experience should have deterred me from wanting to do anything else. But it was the fear that pushed me, and also wanting to show my kids, like, you fall off the bike, you get back on it.
Right.
And it wound up working out really well. I never won. Right. I got third place on Halloween Wars, and then second place on Holiday. So
you're going to win the next one then?
Yes. The answer is yes.
They're going to call again, and so you're going to win the next one. Call her.
Yeah. Call me.
Call her so she can get her W's. W's.
I never win anything. Like, come on, just once. I just want to win one.
So I'm glad you said that, because for me, I've talked about a lot on the channel about your why. Like, when entrepreneurship is difficult all by itself for a multitude of reasons, then you take food entrepreneurship. That's a whole nother, to me, ball game. And people always ask me, like, Drew, why do you do this? Like, you can go cook somewhere else and someone will pay you and and it'll be good, But I don't know. I feel called to this thing that I do. But you mentioned your kids. I know a lot of times when on the hard days, my internal conversation is often like, I got to show my kids, you don't fail, you grind, you work hard. It doesn't always work out. You can recover, all those things. So just hearing you say that kids are often a great motivator, and they don't know that. I think they don't know that. And you know what? You just made me think about it. I think I'm going to start just letting my kids hear me say to them, you motivate me, you push me. Because for me, and it sounds like for you too, a lot of times at the end of the day, they're my encouragement.
I also find that I learn stuff from them. Like, my son is so much like me creatively, and he's kind of had a rough push in middle school. And we had a meeting with his teachers, and he's like, he's super creative and he's intelligent, but he's fine with mediocrity, which is interesting because I was kind of like that in school, but I was always told I was so creative, I just wasn't good at other stuff, which I think is a huge fallacy. But I told him, I was like, John, I've learned something from you that if I had put in the potential that I had at your age, imagine where I would be.
Right.
Because I didn't start until I was older.
Right.
But imagine if you worked really hard. And I think a huge part of my why is because I was given a gift. I mean, there's no way I can say that in any other way. Yeah. I was given a gift, and why wouldn't I use it? Right.
I'm
Absolutely. Grateful for it.
So one of the things that I talk about a lot is networking. And I've experienced, so the last few years, I've started investing quite a bit in just educating myself, and that has come through different ways. But I've gone to like a lot of like 3-day seminars and things like that, and pretty much paid in leadership conferences and stuff, but pretty much paid to be around like-minded people. I didn't know that at the time. At the time, it just started as like, I'm going to go to this cooking class, or I'm going to go to this conference. But when I found out was once I got there and got on the ground and I'm there for a few days, and you start finding that you're surrounded by like-minded people. Oh, for me, it was like other people are out there who do what I do. In my world, there's no entrepreneurs but me. Mm-hmm. And so it's just an area of, how do you say this? It was something that I needed in my life that I didn't know I needed, was just a community like that. And so you said that, the people, when you were on these shows, one of the greatest things for you was the relationships and the people that came out of them. That's what struck me. Talk about a little bit about like what those relationships have done, or was that a surprise to you? Did you know were you ever cognizant of like, oh, I'm going to go be around people like me? Talk about that whole thing.
No, actually, I would say I was nervous about it because I didn't know how friendly other people would be in a competition where you're equally as good at something. And I'm not that type of person. Like, I like everybody unless you give me a reason not to.
Right.
And I was nervous that there would be some of this.
Yeah.
And I found that it was just the opposite. I mean, we all dig what we're doing. And so much so that the cake that you saw me working on at the coffee shop, that was for the guy that won Holiday Wars. I wasn't on his team, but we became friends, and he came up here and made that cake with me.
Oh, really?
So I've been able to collaborate with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the people that I met on the show.
That's dope. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've all come here. I've flown out to Milwaukee to see my teammate from Halloween Wars, but they all have something else different that they bring to the table. One of the things I think is cool, though, is that we have a cake artist, a sugar artist, and then like usually a jack of all trades, somebody who can do a little bit of everything. But on these shows, the sugar artists have never used sugar before. So if you go and watch any of these shows on Food Network, they are usually pastry chefs, and they tell them they're going to do sugar, and they whip it out just like that. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's just so much that you can learn from people because there are a million ways to do any of this.
Yeah.
And you get to see somebody else's method, or,
Yeah.
other people who are making it when you think, I'll never, I can't be successful in doing this.
Right.
Well, that's not true. So, yeah.
Cool. Would you, for food entrepreneurs, and I've heard both things. I'm going to ask you this because I did not know this part of your resume, but do you recommend television, the television route? People make it on these shows. Somebody suggested I apply for a show recently, and I never done that before. But what do you think? Have overall the experience has been good or what? I
think it depends on your personality entirely, because one of the things you don't realize going into it is you got to be tough. I mean, you got to be able to handle working 18 to 20 hours and not taking a break.
Right.
I mean, every single day. It's like you get up at 5 and it goes and it goes and it goes. And then you think you're done at 11 o'clock, but no, you've got to have a meeting with the producers. And then you wake up and you got to be on camera. And a lot of females I know are like, I don't want to be, I shouldn't tell that story. I should tell that story. But it is hard when you're like, you feel like you look like death. You're a female. You're supposed to be like all pretty on camera.
Right.
And you're like, I haven't slept in 4 days. And
right.
I'm eating like, French fries for every meal, and you're not feeling it. You got to be able to get over that. You got to be able to get over like really awful stuff happening, really big losses. You have to handle the pressure of it. And for some people, it is too much. So if you're not willing to put yourself on the line, to not be at your best at all times, to show people the real version of you, then you shouldn't do it.
Right.
But I really do think it comes down to the individual. But know what you're getting into.
Right.
Because I know one show, and I won't say what it is, predetermine the winner before you get there. And I said no, because this is me.
Right.
Like this is my name, my business, my company, and I'm not going to let you ruin me to help you.
Right.
So you got to know who you're working with and who you're getting in bed with, so to speak, because they can ruin you.
That's true. So let me ask you this. change gears a little bit. So you bake these cakes now. Marketing, your marketing and sales strategy. How do you sell your cakes? How do people get a hold of you? How do people find out about you? How do you get your business?
I would say I'm not a marketing genius by any stretch of the imagination. Because I do a lot of wedding cakes, my name gets out there. So a lot of it is word of mouth. A lot of it is through Instagram. But people see groom's cakes, which could be like a Georgia Bulldog or a stadium or, fishing, whatever. And you don't typically see that on the day-to-day. And then they're like, who did that? And then, it's like I get brides all the time. I was at so-and-so's wedding. You did his groom's cake.
Yeah.
But, are you available for this date?
Gotcha.
And that's kind of, it's word of mouth.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And social media.
Have you ever, are you happy with that? And a lot of business owners are. Have you ever thought about, do you feel like you'll stay there, continue on this way, or have you ever thought about scaling your sales through like more aggressive traditional marketing, or not really? I
think as long as I'm doing well, I'll stay where I am, but I kind of want to go into different avenues of what I do, teaching, and
right.
Because I am passionate about that. So I think that there are some different avenues that I want to take within this umbrella of cake business.
So we see your business here. Where do you see your business going, or what would you like to do that you're not quite doing yet or haven't done much of in the future?
I don't know if I want to give too much away, because I find that like the more I talk about stuff, the more it falls through. It's kind of hard to explain, but there are different places that I want to move with my business, and I think a lot of it is probably going to be probably YouTube, like teaching and really putting up content for people where I don't hold back any secrets.
Right.
I want people to really know what it's like and tell the unseen.
So that is so wild. We have not scripted this, but the reason I started this channel was because I'm a grassroots entrepreneur. We're building this stuff straight up out the mud, and I've been doing it, a serial entrepreneur. So I've been doing it for a while. And what I noticed one day a couple years ago was like some of the questions that I wanted answered, or some of the questions I had early on, I couldn't find those answers, and I couldn't find them clearly. And so I wanted to create a platform where people can get those answers. People can talk about their businesses, talk about money, talk about struggles and fears, and the good stuff too. Because a lot of times people, when it comes to starting businesses, they talk about all the rainbows, but they don't talk about dark days and valleys, And so if I could create something where people could just learn from me, my mistakes and my testimony a little bit, or from my guest, that's what we wanted to do. So I think it's really, really cool to hear that. And I say,
because there's a lot that I would look for cake making wise, like how do you do this and that? And you cannot find it anywhere.
Right.
And I would, it would take me like a year to figure it out. I feel like I want to be the person that shows you how to do that. And there's plenty to cover.
Yeah.
I just need to do it. But it's hard when I'm doing this full time.
Yeah, it is. Trust me, I get it.
I think one of the things that I struggle with is actually staying on top, of knowing how much, your income versus your expenses, and really nailing down exactly how much it costs you to make that cake.
Right.
And that can be hard for me because with these sculpted cakes, I don't really know what's going to go into it, and and pay yourself for your time.
Yeah.
So many people give me a hard time about like, good grief, that's expensive. If they had an inkling of the amount of soul that I pour into it and sleepless nights, a lot of it is a time thing for me. But, not being a numbers person, I've really forced myself to sit down and say, okay, this cake cost X amount of money to make.
Right.
My profit needs to be this in order for me to do this.
Right.
And really taking the time to look at the numbers and do that and increase that profit margin is I mean, that's one. I'm sure most people probably do that, but I'm not built that way.
Right,
And I've had to teach myself how to know exactly what's going on and be able to look at it in black and white because I'm a gray person.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one. I don't know. I don't know if I can come up with a few.
Well, let me ask you this based off of what you just said. How would you encourage a baker at home who is doing this or thinking about doing this to speak to account for their time? Because that's what I think a lot of people don't understand, especially when you do food, but especially when it comes to baking and confections and things like that, is that, yeah, a lot of times the raw ingredients can be simpler, but y'all really are artisans. Like, this is time that you're putting in creating this stuff for people. So how would you encourage a person at home to make sure that they are getting paid justly for their time?
I'm a huge believer, and I'll tell people this too. I might not be the right fit for you because it is expensive, but you do get what you pay for.
Right.
And I had a hard time for many years feeling like I was valuable enough, which is kind of strange to me now because I feel like not everybody can do this.
Right.
You're coming to me now because you know what I'm capable of. So I feel like my time is so valuable. I mean, I'm taking myself away from my kids. Yeah. I'm taking myself out of everything to produce something for you. And I think if you keep that in mind and you know your worth and you know your value, that you should be compensated for it.
So did y'all hear what she said? If you know that you're taking yourself away from your kids, away from your spouse, away from your life to bake something, put one of these things together, please make sure that you are being compensated for it. Anybody who is worth having, this is me speaking, anybody who is worth having as a customer will understand and appreciate that they're not doing things for free. They're not, expecting to not get paid for the work they do. So make sure y'all figure out what that number is or what that is for you. Because, yeah, there's the ingredient part and the material part.
Add that other part in. Time is the one commodity you can't get back.
You can't get it back. So figure out what those numbers look like for you and make sure you're charging them for them. Everybody isn't your customer. Don't be afraid to say no. I tell people all the time as well. People, they see the word barbecue and they think checkered tablecloths and picnics, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so they'll be like, Drew, can you give me a quote? And I'll send them that quote and it might be a comma in it, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what's going on, but they'll be like, oh. Joe, it always sounds like that too. Oh. You'll get that oh. And my response is typically, well, I'm not the barbecue guy for you. Yeah. Because for me, I know what it is. When I can bless people, or if I can, I do. But at the end of the day, yeah, I got to pay for the meat and the wood and all that stuff. But if I'm cooking you brisket, or if I'm doing your wedding, or if I'm doing your bachelor party, or whatever it is, that's time away from my life. That's time away from my business. And you got to pay for that. So y'all figure out your worth and charge people for it.
And I'd add on to that too. I used to back in the day say, well, it's because X, Y, and Z. And now I'm like, I don't owe you an explanation for what, I just don't, it is what it is. Right. And you can take it or leave it.
Because guess what, Bonnie? When I go to Chick-fil-A and I realize, and I love Chick-fil-A. So I ain't talking trash. Chick-fil-A, Kroger, Publix, the gas station or whatever. When I pull up, and what I paid $5 for last week is now $7. Don't no one explain to me why. I gotta make the decision right now. I'm either gonna pay the $5 or not pay, or pay the $2 extra or not. So yeah, you don't owe nobody an explanation when you let them know what it is. Because the bottom line is this: they don't know your situation, one, and two, there is definitely another option. If you're too much or if I'm too much, go find somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, y'all know at the Eating Chambers channel, We are always, always, always trying to educate you, excite you, empower you into the future and the businesses that you want for yourself in your life. We are so, so, so grateful, Bonnie, to Bonnie for spending some time with us. Y'all look, Bonnie, give them all your socials and all of that stuff. How do they get a hold of you if they want to know more about this chill?
Everything is under Beautifully Baked by Bonnie, but Bonnie spelled Bonne. Thank you to my mom and dad for giving me a life of being called Bonne, whatever. It's Bonne, Beautifully Baked by Bonnie, and you can find me pretty much everywhere.
Y'all listen, go look at some of her stuff, reach out to her. Y'all, she made this. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. You made a possum cake.
Yeah, for my friend.
That was like, Bonnie, I have like the biggest fear.
The swinging possum. It was even swinging. I'm sure you love
Thinking
that.
about this swinging cake is stressing me out. I am so scared of possums, and they make me nervous. And I saw this thing, and I'm like, I hate possums, but that right there.
So you want me to make you a possum cake? Is what I'm hearing.
No. But guess what? I'll tell Joe or somebody go cut me a piece though. But y'all check out her stuff. She's got some pretty dope stuff. You see some of her work here. Make sure, like she said, on everything, Beautifully Baked by Bonnie, Bonne. Y'all also, thank you for liking, subscribing, doing all the things to help us continue to bring you this great content. And before we go, remember our homeboys, Last Night's Coffee with Chuck and John on all podcast platforms. Some great guys, great content. Until then, y'all, we are gone.